You think you can spot a manipulator from a mile away. The obvious ones, maybe. The salesman with the fake smile, the love bomber who comes on too strong, the guilt tripper who always plays victim. But the truth is, manipulation is so woven into human interaction that we're all doing it, all falling for it, all participating in this complex dance of influence and control without even realizing it. Manipulation isn't just the domain of narcissists and con artists. It's a fundamental human behavior that exists on a spectrum from harmless social lubrication to devastating psychological abuse. Your toddler who fake cries for attention? Manipulating. Your friend who always has a crisis right before you share good news? Manipulating. You when you phrase requests certain ways to increase the chances of getting a yes? Also manipulating. The difference isn't between people who manipulate and people who don't. It's between conscious and unconscious manipulation, harmful and harmless influence, destructive control, and normal social navigation. Understanding these patterns isn't about becoming paranoid or cynical. It's about recognizing the invisible currents that shape every human interaction. The love bomb and devalue cycle. This is manipulation's classic 1-2 punch. First comes the overwhelming attention, the instant connection, the feeling that you've found your soulmate, best friend, perfect employee. They mirror your interests, share your values, laugh at all your jokes. You're perfect, amazing, everything they've ever wanted. Your brain floods with dopamine, creating an actual chemical addiction to their approval. Then the temperature drops. Slowly at first, a missed text here, a cancelled plan there, a slightly cold response. The praise becomes less frequent, then qualified, then replaced with subtle criticism. But you remember the high, and like any addict, you'll chase it desperately. You start changing yourself, trying harder, accepting less, all to get back to that initial intensity. I watched this happen to a colleague who was hired with massive fanfare. The boss couldn't stop talking about her brilliance, her potential, how she was going to transform the department. For 3 months, she was the golden child. Then came the first criticism. Small, reasonable, but it landed like a punch because she'd grown accustomed to pure praise. Within a year, she was working 70-hour weeks, constantly anxious, never quite good enough, always trying to earn back that initial validation. The manufactured crisis pattern. Some people unconsciously create chaos whenever things get too stable, too peaceful, or when attention shifts away from them. Just when life settles into a comfortable rhythm, suddenly there's an emergency. A health scare that turns out to be nothing. A fight with someone that requires immediate mediation. A work disaster that only they can solve. These aren't always conscious manipulations. Many crisis manufacturers genuinely experience these events as real emergencies. They've learned, usually in childhood, that crisis equals attention, that problems equal connection, that drama equals importance. Their nervous system is calibrated for chaos. Peace feels like abandonment. The manipulation comes in the timing and the expectation. Notice how these crises often emerge right before your important events, during your successes, or when you try to establish boundaries. The friend whose emergencies always happen the night before your big presentations. The partner whose health mysteriously deteriorates when you plan solo trips. The parent whose disasters coincide with your attempts at independence. The gaslighting architecture. Gaslighting isn't just lying. It's systematically dismantling someone's reality. It starts small. You're remembering that wrong. I never said that. You're being too sensitive. Each instance seems minor, explainable, not worth fighting about. But cumulatively, they erode your confidence in your own perceptions. Advanced gaslighters don't just deny reality. They replace it with their own version. They'll describe events you both witnessed completely differently, with such conviction that you start doubting your memory. They'll rewrite history in real time, editing out their cruel words and amplifying yours. They'll claim you agreed to things you didn't, promised things you didn't, said things you didn't. The genius of gaslighting is that it makes you complicit in your own manipulation. You become so unsure of reality that you need the gaslighter to tell you what's real. You fact-check yourself against their version of events. You apologize for things you're not sure you did. You question your sanity rather than their honesty. The emotional loan shark. These manipulators give to get. Every favor comes with invisible interest. Every gift has strings so thin, you don't see them until you're completely entangled. They keep mental spreadsheets of everything they've done for you, ready to call in these debts at strategic moments. After everything I've done for you becomes their weapon of choice. They remind you of their sacrifices, their generosity, their support, not with gratitude, but with expectation. The help they offered freely now requires reciprocal compliance. The gift they insisted you accept becomes evidence of your obligation. What makes this particularly insidious is that they often target people who already feel indebted to the world, who already struggle with receiving help, who already feel they don't deserve support. The manipulation confirms their worst beliefs about themselves, that they're burdens, that help always has a cost, that they must earn every kindness through suffering. The triangulation game. This is where manipulators use third parties, real or imagined, to control you. They don't criticize directly. They report others' criticisms. I defend you, but everyone else thinks, my friends all say your family asked me if you're okay because... These invisible armies of judgment make you feel surrounded, outnumbered, consensus confirmed wrong. You can't defend against ghosts. You can't have conversations with everyone. You're left shadowboxing with phantom opinions, while the manipulator positions themselves as your only ally in a hostile world. Sometimes these third parties are real but misrepresented. The manipulator takes someone's casual observation and weaponizes it. Sometimes they're completely fabricated, but you'll never know which, and that uncertainty is the point. You're left paranoid, isolated, dependent on the manipulator for accurate information about how others see you. The Competence Destruction Project. Some manipulators systematically undermine your confidence in your own abilities. They offer help you don't need, then act hurt when you decline. They redo tasks you've completed, finding invisible flaws. They express surprise when you succeed, concern when you're independent, worry when you're confident. I'm just trying to help becomes their refrain as they slowly convince you that you need help. They create learned helplessness through constant intervention. You stop trying because they'll just redo it. You stop deciding because they'll just override you. You stop trusting yourself because they've made you believe you're incompetent. This often happens in relationships where one person's identity depends on being needed. The spouse who needs their partner to be helpless. The parent who needs their adult child to remain dependent. The friend who needs to be the competent one. They're not consciously sabotaging you. They're unconsciously maintaining the dynamic that makes them feel valuable. The moving goalpost technique. Just when you think you've met their standards, the standards change. The rules shift. The expectations evolve. You're always almost there. Always one improvement away from their full approval. Always catching up to a finish line that keeps moving. You lose weight. Now you need to tone up. You get the promotion. Now you're working too much. You spend more time together. Now you're clingy. You're independent. Now you're distant. There's no winning because winning would end the game. And the game is the point. This keeps you in perpetual motion, too busy trying to meet their ever-changing standards to notice that the problem isn't your performance. It's their need to keep you performing. They need you striving because your effort makes them feel powerful. Your attempts to please them confirm their importance. The selective memory manipulation. These manipulators have photographic memory for your failures and complete amnesia about their own. They can recall with perfect clarity the time you were late 3 years ago, but genuinely can't remember the promise they made yesterday. Their mental filing system only saves evidence that supports their narrative. In arguments, they'll bring up your mistakes from years past while claiming their own recent transgressions are in the past, and you need to let it go. They'll remember conversations that support their position, but forget ones that don't. Their memory isn't failing. It's edited. This selective recall makes you seem like the unreasonable one. You're holding grudges if you remember their wrongs, but they're learning from history when they catalog yours. You're left defending ancient history while they get clean slates daily. The vulnerability weaponizer. These are the most dangerous manipulators because they use your openness against you. Every vulnerability you share becomes ammunition. Every fear you confess becomes a button to push. Every wound you reveal becomes a target for future attacks. They encourage deep sharing, create false intimacy, make you feel safe being vulnerable. They're excellent listeners during the intelligence gathering phase. They remember everything. Your father's criticism that still stings, your ex who cheated, your deep fear of abandonment. Then, in conflict, they aim directly for these wounds. You're just like your mother, when they know that's your worst fear. No wonder your ex cheated when they know that destroyed you. They dress these attacks as honesty or concern, but they're precision strikes designed to cause maximum damage with plausible deniability. The covert contract creator. These manipulators make agreements you never agree to, then punish you for breaking them. They have unspoken expectations, invisible rules, secret tests. They give what they want to give, then get angry when you don't reciprocate in exactly the way they imagined. They'll do things for you that are really for them, then resent you for not appreciating it properly. They'll sacrifice things you never asked them to sacrifice, then blame you for their loss. They'll change their entire life to accommodate you without discussion, then rage at you for making them do it. The manipulation is in the assumption that their internal contracts are binding on you, that their unspoken expectations are obligations, that their imaginary agreements are real. You're constantly in violation of rules you didn't know existed, breaking contracts you never signed, recognizing your own patterns. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You've probably used some of these patterns yourself. Maybe you've created a crisis for attention. Maybe you've used guilt to get your way. Maybe you've rewritten history to make yourself the hero or victim. This isn't because you're bad. It's because you're human, and humans learn these patterns early as survival mechanisms. The child who learns that being sick gets attention becomes the adult who develops mysterious illnesses during conflicts. The child who learns that crisis brings connection becomes the adult who manufactures drama. The child who learns that guilt works becomes the adult who weaponizes disappointment. Understanding manipulation isn't about dividing the world into manipulators and victims. We're all both, in different contexts, to different degrees. The question isn't whether you manipulate, it's whether you're conscious of it, whether you're working to change it, whether you're choosing healthier patterns. The defense against manipulation. The best defense isn't paranoia or isolation, it's consciousness. It's recognizing these patterns when they emerge, in others and in yourself. It's understanding that manipulation often comes from wound, not evil. It's seeing the scared child behind the controlling adult, the desperate need behind the strategic behavior. But understanding doesn't mean accepting abuse. You can have compassion for why someone manipulates while still refusing to be manipulated. You can recognize their wound while protecting your own well-being. You can see their humanity while maintaining your boundaries. The antidote to manipulation is direct communication, clear boundaries, and the courage to tolerate others' disappointment. It's saying what you mean, asking for what you need, and accepting that not everyone will like it. It's choosing discomfort over control, honesty over strategy, genuine connection over power games. Remember, manipulation thrives in darkness, in unconsciousness, in the spaces where we refuse to look at ourselves honestly. Bring these patterns into the light, your own and others, and they lose much of their power. Not all of it, but enough to give you a fighting chance at genuine, honest, manipulation-free connection. That's the paradox of human relationships. We're all capable of manipulation, all vulnerable to it, all participating in these patterns to some degree. The goal isn't to find people who never manipulate. They don't exist. It's to find people who are conscious enough to catch themselves, honest enough to admit it, and committed enough to choose better patterns. And most importantly, to become that person yourself.